A few days ago, I was scrolling through TikTok and came across a video that struck a massive chord. So the creator was talking about how surprisingly hard it is to land a job in Australia as an immigrant or an expat. The comment section was in absolute flames. Like half the people were saying, yes, 100%, nobody talks about this. And then the other half was saying, well, you just aren't applying correctly. Well, when I first packed my bags and landed in Australia, guys, I had big expectations. But once I actually started submitting my resume, reality hit. The truth is, that TikTok creator was not wrong. Getting a job here as a newcomer isn't just about handing out your resume and waiting for a call, guys. Depending on the sector you're targeting, there is a hidden playbook. And so today I want to break down the 3 massive hoops you have to jump for every immigrant or an expat to get hired in Australia, including the unspoken rules around qualifications that nobody talks about, references, and the infamous culture fit. Hey guys, my name is Sharon, and on this channel I talk about my walk with Jesus. And if that is something that is of interest to you, take a seat and let's talk. Today I'll be talking about my job search experience in Australia and what I learned in that process. The main aim of this channel is just to share my testimonies and my experiences. So this is one of the testimonies that I'm sharing and the challenges that I faced while I was searching for a job in Australia and how I overcame those challenges. So if you are planning to move abroad, whether in Australia, the US, or any foreign country that is not your country, this video might be of value to you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So let's start with the first hoop. Mandatory qualifications. So your experience in this country is heavily dictated by the exact industry you enter. Take education and support work, for example. These were the first sectors I looked into when I arrived. And back home, you might have years of transferable experience or degrees that prove your capability. But in Australia, the gatekeeping is very strict, guys. For support work or care roles, you can't just say, I'm compassionate, I have experience. You need specific, non-negotiable local certifications like Cert 3 or Cert 4 in aged care or care, first aid, CPR, manual handling, and the NDIS worker screening. Without these specific boxes ticked, your application is filtered out by a software before a human even sees it. The same applies to education and teaching. The accreditation process for overseas trained professionals can take months. It costs a significant amount of money. The required bridging courses that you also need to do cost money. So you quickly realize that skills don't automatically convert one-on-one across borders. You have to prove yourself within their framework first. Now, let's talk about the second hoop, references and local networks. This was one of the biggest culture shocks for me, guys. In many of our home countries, okay, I'll speak from Kenya because I'm from Kenya, putting a reference on a resume is almost a decorative formality. It's a formality at the end of a page, a contact name that rarely, if ever, gets used unless you are at the executive level. Well, in Australia, references are a high-stakes step in the hiring process. For entry-level roles, cleaning, childcare, hospitality, hiring often comes down entirely to who you know. But here is the trap for immigrants. Australian employers don't just want references, they specifically want Australian references. So if you list a manager back home, half the recruiters won't bother to call an international number or an email address that's foreign due to time zones or international dial codes. When an Aussie hiring manager says they're checking references, they mean it. They will email, they will text, or physically pick up a phone and call your previous boss for a 15-minute grilling. So if you're fresh off the plane with zero local contacts, how are you supposed to get an Australian reference to get the job that gives you the reference? It's a classic chicken and egg paradox. That brings us to the third hoop, which is by far the hardest to quantify, but everyone feels it, and you will feel it when you start applying for these jobs. So when you apply for jobs here, you will constantly hear recruiters talk about finding someone who fits the team culture. On the surface, that sounds innocent enough. They just want a friendly person. They just want friendly people, right? But in reality, culture fit can sometimes act like a subtle barrier. You will quickly notice that certain industries or specific departments are dominated by tight-knit communities. In some places, managers almost exclusively hire their own countrymen or people from a very specific demographic background because it's comfortable for them and familiar to them. So if you don't fit that demographic, or if your communication style does not match the traditional Australian workplace humor and banter, you will find yourself getting passed over despite having all the right qualifications on paper. Navigating this requires learning how to read the room, adapt your communication, and understand the unwritten social norms of Australian work environments without losing your own identity. So if you're sitting there and you're feeling like you're discouraged, you're just applying and you're just hearing crickets, how do you really jump these hoops? So first, for qualifications, you need to research the exact local certificates your target industry requires before you even start applying for these jobs. So don't waste time sending 100 generic resumes if you're missing a mandatory $100 short course certificate like first aid. Secondly, to break the reference rule, consider short-term volunteering, temporary work, or entry roles that specifically build up two local Australian contacts who can vouch for your work ethic. And third, for culture fit, focus on local networking, attend industry meetup, reach out to people on LinkedIn who share your background, and learn how to tailor your interview style to be conversational and collaborative. Job hunting in a new country, guys, is rarely a smooth ride. But knowing what hoops you're jumping through gives you a massive advantage. If you've moved to Australia recently, guys, what was your job search experience like? Did you hit any of these three hoops, or did you face a completely different hurdle? Let me know in the comments section. I reply to as many as I can, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for more real talk about life and work overseas. And I will definitely be seeing you in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.